morning everyone, and welcome back to another week of sailing Life Aquatic. This week we are diving into a new battery install. The old batteries I have in this boat are just not cutting it every morning. I'll wake up at like 11.8 volts and I'm scared that one day they're going to leave me high and dry because currently it's 2 batteries for the house and for the motor. They're all combined, and I want to be able to separate this into 2 different systems so that way I get a little bit more reliability out of my battery systems. And then we're going to install also a lithium battery bank for the house set of batteries. But this comes with its own set of challenges because charging the lithium is going to be way different than charging the original AGM batteries that were in this boat. So we got to add a few different pieces to the puzzle, including a DC to DC charge controller and reprogram all the MPPTs so that way they charge for a lithium charge profile. So let's get to it. All right guys, so today we're gonna go over a couple things on the wiring diagram for Life Aquatic. This is pretty much the first thing I do every time I need to update something on Life Aquatic for her wiring, is just draw it out so I can think about everything prior to actually going ahead and making the changes. So first off, let's start out with the batteries. What we have are H1 and H2. So 2 house batteries, each one has a positive and a negative, positive and a negative. And now, this is new to me, is I have one, which is starter one, which also has a positive and a negative. What we've included in this new system, which is going to be really nice, is called a Lynx distribution system. It's from Victron. Pretty much all the equipment on this boat is now from Victron as far as all of the charging systems go, other than the inverter, which has yet to be changed out because I'm not sponsored yet, but maybe one day. So what we have here is our house batteries, starter battery. This is our Lynx distribution system, LYNX I think it is, distribution. This has a large positive and a large negative here that we can connect through with an M8 bolt, and it has positive, negative, positive, negative, positive, negative, positive, negative, and then a different positive, negative over here. But anyways, all these positives and negatives along the top and along the bottom are all connected. The cool part about each of these 4 is they're each a fuse connection. So there's technically another positive up here and a fuse that goes between each of those, but we're just going to leave that out for now. You can specify these fuses depending on what your loads that you're either pulling from this connection or what you're pushing towards the system as far as charging goes. The other things we have are an alternator. This is from the motor, and we also have a starter motor. Do this to be starter. The Lynx distribution. Some of the other stuff I've added in here is I do have an inverter. So there's our inverter, and next to that I also have a subwoofer, and this requires 12 volt power as well. For charge controllers, we have MPPTs, MPPT1, MPPT2, and we now have a DC to DC charger. This DC to DC charger is necessary because these batteries from the house are lithium, and this one is a AGM marine battery. In order to charge our lithium batteries from our alternator, which charges our starter battery, we need to use the DC to DC charger to then apply that current to our house bank using a lithium battery charging profile. So next we'll go through and mark all of our positives and negatives. So the alternator has a positive and a negative common ground on it. Starter also has a positive and negative common ground on it. Subwoofer is positive and negative, inverter is positive and negative. DC to DC charger, there's 2 different kinds, isolated and non-isolated. This one has a positive, negative, positive, meaning this is the non-isolated version because it only has a shared common negative. The MPPTs have positive and negative in from the solar and positive and negative out, both of those. So this would be in, out, in, out. And we'll just mark these off quick because that goes to our panel. So positive and negative to the panel. We're not going to worry about that too much. Panel. Okay, so first our house system is
wired in parallel. So we'll start with that, meaning that our negatives are connected to negatives and our positives are connected to positives. We'll make that, pretend that's a jump there, because it is not connected. Okay, and because this entire boat has a shared common ground system, our negative on our starter battery is also going to be shared with our negative on our house battery. Now, our starter positive needs to go to our starter. And the way that this is connected is like this to our starter. Our alternator has a negative that goes to negative common, just say that, to our common negative bus bar, and then our alternator actually goes through, I don't remember the symbol for a diode, but it's something like that. Goes through a diode so that way charge can't go backwards or anything like that into the alternator. And then over to our starter motor. Actually, I think it's a triangle, something like that. Anyways, this is just so the charge can't go backwards into our alternator, but what happens is the positive from the alternator goes to the starter, which inherently charges our starter battery, but the starter also can draw power to start the starter motor. And the starter negative goes to common ground. All right, so as you can see, all of our negatives are shared, but now, and we can get power to our starter motor. Now what we need to do is connect our house system up to our distribution of all of our really 12 volt either loads or our 12 volt chargers. What everyone's pretty much used to seeing is your control panel, and this negative here is our common negative to the bus bar for the entire boat, and this positive up here will go to our house positive bank. So this goes to all your switches and everything else like that. But what needs to feed this is our positive and our negative from our house bank batteries. And in order to monitor our power, we have something called a shunt, and your shunt is generally always connected to your negative. So ours uses two M10 connections, and then what it does have is two positive connections for monitoring each of the batteries, the starter and your house bank. So this is a positive and that's a positive. One of these little positive wires, let's start with our negatives actually. So our negative from our house bank comes down, we'll skip over that, and comes down into our Smart Shunt. And from our Smart Shunt, it then goes out into all the loads of the system, which is our Lynx distribution panel. Next, we have our positive of the battery, and we'll draw that coming out here, skip over our negative. And I installed a switch here on mine so I can disconnect my entire battery system if I need to, and then that runs into the positive here of our Lynx distribution. Now the last thing we had to do for this Smart Shunt is, I believe the outside one goes up to our battery positive, and this is our, we'll say, house monitor, and this would be our starter monitor. So he just comes like that, skips over there, skips over there, skips over there. So that is our starter monitor. So this is now our wiring diagram to provide all of the power from the batteries to our starter motor and the house into its distribution system. Next, what we need to look at is our MPPT controllers. So both the panels are providing power into them. The MPPT takes a solar panel and regulates it. And then what it does is it provides power out of the solar panel and into our distribution system, which also means that it can provide energy to the system even if the batteries aren't hooked up, which is pretty cool. So that goes into our negative and our positive there. And then this second MPPT pretty much does the same thing. We're just going to draw it around this way. It goes into our other positive and our next negative, just like that. Complete that. So both of our MPPTs are hooked up into our system to charge our house bank as well as provide power into the rest of the system. Now the DC to DC converter, because it shares a common ground, makes this pretty easy. All we have to do for the common ground is come up, plug it into our common ground, because this is shared throughout the whole system. And then the charging, so this is the outside and the power inside. So the outside of the DC to DC charger comes up and goes into the positive. So it feeds just like the MPPTs. Now the inside of this one, I gotta figure out how to get the wire all the way up there, goes to our starter battery. So that way, when, let's see if I can get in here. There we go. So that is our DC to DC wire. Seeing as it goes all the way up there, we'll label it. So our DC to DC in wire, when the starter battery starts seeing power from the alternator, it provides power to our DC to DC charger, which then converts it into a lithium profile and sends it up into our distribution system, where it can then be fed into our house bank of batteries. Next, we'll look at our inverter and our subwoofer. Both of these are only drawing units. They don't actually supply any power. So I wanted to keep those on this fuse contact here. So this is fuse 1 on the block. And again, pretty straightforward. It only has a positive and a negative for each of those. So we'll take our negative, skip over there, bring it up and connect it. Same with my subwoofer negative. Bring it up there and connect it. These are on the same lead. And then our positives for the subwoofer goes here, and the positive for the inverter also goes up here. One thing I left out of my MPPTs here is these are both fused. So we'll put a little fuse here, and on this positive here, it's also fused. So you guys will see those, but those are 30 amp fuses, as I'm not expecting to see much more than that. The controllers themselves are actually 50 amp controllers. I bought them in case I ever want to add power, so I don't have to change these out. And then I could change the fuses and the wiring, but because I'm using 8 gauge wiring, I've limited both these MPPTs to only output 30 amps, so I put 30 amp fuses in line. So anything that goes over that from the MPPTs should just blow the fuse and protect the whole system. But that is more or less the simplistic version of the wiring diagram for Life Aquatic. So let's get to it. Well, welcome back to the woodworking station. We've currently got everything set up here. So the next project is basically building an area that I can mount all of my charge controllers to, the new DC to DC controller, as well as both of the MPPT controllers. So normally I don't use this for cutting wood, but honestly that worked like super well. I have a jigsaw sitting right here, but I forgot the battery in the boat and I was too lazy to go get it. So fun little skill saw thing, whatever this thing's called. So seeing as we're basically just winging this, I bought a mahogany varnish stain I want to try out first, and then I'll put the clear spar varnish over top of it to get that really nice finish. So instead of like going straight over to this mahogany veneer, what I might do is just try the mahogany finish on this, because my boat finish isn't really very knotty, and this doesn't have much for knots on this side. So I might try the mahogany stain here and see how I like the look of it, and see if it helps match the boat prior to actually spraying this and doing the veneer and all that, because it'll be way easier just to stain it and varnish it. And I'll do the same for these ones too and see if it matches pretty well colorant wise. Otherwise I'll have to well, we're gonna do the test piece first. Otherwise I'll have to spray these and do the mahogany veneer. But that being said, I forgot a mixing stick on the boat as well as my utility knife, so I can't even cut the veneer if I need to. So dinghy ride back to the boat. That is a fun color. So next we're gonna sit and mix all this good stuff up with my trusty pencil.
I'm gonna tell you that I love you 100 times a day. You'll get tired of my voice, that's how much I'm gonna tell you that I'll miss you. I'll miss you if you go. Yes, I'm gonna let you know just how much I tell you, mama. I tell you, papa, too.
Alright, so spark notes on that job. Instead of using a foam brush to do this, it left like some weird marks when I first started and I couldn't get them to spread out. So I might come back and sand this off and redo this board. These ones turned out better, but using an actual brush I think would let the stain fall better into like all the gaps and everything versus using a foam brush, which I did. But the color came out really nice. It's a little bit darker, I think, than the rest of the boat, but it's still pretty wet. So I'll see what it looks like when it's all done and dried up. And then the spar varnish might give it a little bit more pop. And if it's a little bit too dark and it seeps in a ways, I might just quick sand it and then put the varnish on if I can get the colors to match. But it's also gonna be like in a cabinet, so a little bit darker wood won't be a big deal because it's never gonna get any really direct light. And to be honest with you, I might be carrying too much for this, but I want it to look nice. So there we go, time to let this stuff dry and not much else I can do for now. Well, we are back in the boat today and installing basically this big panel that will be able to flex, and it fits right in this cabinet. So it'll cover up all the old chargers. The new chargers will go on the front of it, and if I need to drop it down to get to any of the old stuff, I'll be able to. There's currently another piece of wood I mounted up here it will attach to at the top, and then it'll get screwed down to the bottom. And that is where all the rest of the charge controllers are going to go, behind this beautiful little piece in the settee.
I'm gonna tell you that I need you. I need you every day. You'll get weary of my touch. That's how much.
Alright, so a fun little trick here I love to use when marking holes is I'll actually take the very tip out of a Sharpie, and you can see here on these holes I wanted to mark on each of these tabs, there's a center of it. So I put the tip of the Sharpie in the hole, and then I just took the board and pushed the board up against it, and now I know where to drill on center, so that way I can put screws through each of my tabs up there. Woohoo! Welcome back on board. As you can see outside, it's currently pitch black, and the reason for that is so I can take my solar controllers off without having to unplug anything, because that way there's no power flowing to the controllers. So tonight we are moving both of my solar controllers over into the new mount area. We're gonna try and get the Lynx distributor set up in here, as well as getting it hooked up with the old bus bar. Although a lot of it might happen tomorrow after I swap in the new lithium batteries, just so I have power overnight. Tonight, I'm gonna try and not touch too much on the batteries themselves.
I'll miss you if you go. Yes, I'm gonna let you know just how much I tell you, mama. I tell you, papa, too. I'm gonna let everyone know about my love, so I really hope you love me too. Yeah, I really hope you love me too. I'm gonna tell you that I need you. I need you every day. You'll get weary of my touch. That's how much I'm gonna tell you that I want you. I wanna let you know. Oh, you're the only one for me. No one else. I'm gonna shout it out. Yeah, up on the mountaintop. I'm gonna let everyone know about my love, so I really hope you love me too. Yeah, I really hope you love me too. Oh, there's something deep inside, yeah, that really makes me wanna speak my mind, yeah, yeah.
Whew. All right, guys. So we ended up just taking out both of the old 8D batteries. So now I have this whole space to clean out before the new lithium batteries are going in. It is 8 o'clock in the morning and I haven't even had my coffee yet. So coffee is next and then the new batteries are going in. But basically what we ended up using was a 4-to-1 block and pulley system. We strapped around the old batteries and hauled them here out the stairs and over into my friend's dinghy. But I didn't film any of it because it was early and I don't think he wants to be filmed. So that being said, let's dive into cleaning and getting the new batteries mounted after coffee. So first up, we're gonna check out space and get all these things unclipped from one another.
You'll get tired of my lips, and that's how much they want to kiss and love you till I die.
Next biggest thing on the to-do list is, now that we have all this space here, is make sure I can get in the new batteries. 12 volt, 300 amp hours. Wow, this doesn't weigh anything. First battery goes to the back. This is like playing a game of Jenga. Oh yeah, that shall fit quite nicely. And where is the best place to put the starter battery? I think we want to probably keep weight on the boat centered. Oh, do you fit in this space? That'd be kind of nice. So, one of the things I want to do here is to help provide just a little more cushion for these batteries. I'll lay down a little bit of foam here at the bottom of this. Oh, stay put, you. This hopefully help cushion at least a little bit.
I tell your papa too. I'm gonna let everyone know about my love. So I really hope you love me too. Yeah, I really hope you love me too. I'm gonna tell you that I need you. I need you every day. You'll get weary of my touch. That's how much I'm gonna tell you that I want you. I wanna let you know. Oh, you're the only one for me. No one else.
Alright guys, so pretty much just finished up most of the wiring. I gotta do a whole bunch of zip tying and cleaning up still, but that's to come. So far, before we flip the switch, I'm re-updating my Smart Shunt and the Orion DC to DC controller. So that's updated, that's updated. We'll flip the switch. There we go, both the solar chargers are turning on. Beautiful. So now what I've got, my DC to DC, both my solar chargers are turned on. And so far all the wiring looks good, so the only other thing I need to go do is go plug in the solar panels so that way they're starting to power and make charge again. But I think I'll go shut the power off to the MPPTs, plug them in, and then come back and turn it on. We'll see how that goes. Okay, panels are plugged in. Let's go check and see if we're making power. Okay. All right. We have got power starting to flow in. 245 watts, 18 amps. We're saying currently we're putting in 25 amps of power, 30 amps of power, 32. Batteries are at 12.8. Starter batteries at 13.27. Nice. So far, it looks like everything is working really well. The only thing I messed up so far was on the Smart Shunt. I flipped the starter and the house battery monitors, and so I had to flip those back. They're just two little baby positive wires. So that was super easy, and after that, everything looks like it's really working well. So can't wait to see it. Now I got to see if I can get these batteries to actually float today, which would be fantastic because I probably only have about 3 more hours of sunlight left. So we're going to run the motor for a while, make some hot water, and try and get everything, you know, charged up. Sweet. Well guys, the boat is mostly back together. The only thing I have noted so far, move this fan away, is that this TR Smart Charger gets very hot. I can barely touch this one. The MPPTs get warm, but I might separate these two a little bit further, or I'm gonna order some 12-volt fans to put in here because that guy is very hot. Good space in between those two, so there should be airflow there, but I think you might put some fans up here at the top of the cabinet. We'll see. I'll have to figure out where to draw air from, but definitely gonna need something that'll do a little bit of cooling because that DC to DC charger is hot. Well guys, and like every other dog dad, we have our morning duties to do, aka whoopee duties, right Fiona? So we are gonna go drop the dinghy, head to shore, and she's gonna go for a little run. Let's go, Fiona. She's pretty well trained at this point. You go get the lizards? Go get them. Go get them. Go get them, Fiona. Go get them. Ooh. Oh, she's going hunting for sure. Well, if you made it this far, thanks for watching. Hopefully, Fiona and I will have some more fun and energized adventures coming up for you soon, powered by our new lithium battery bank. One thing to watch out for is sometime in February, we're going to have to haul the boat out and get a whole bunch of work done. So, lots of fun projects coming up, but hopefully some good adventures as well.